This is my vlog on interpersonal distance for the class Communication Ethics. Arnett, Fritz, and Bell say that distance permits us to see the details more clearly. This reminds me of the fable of the blind men and the elephant. 3 blind men were examining an elephant which they had never encountered before. One touched its skin and said, "An elephant is rough and flat." The second touched its tusk and said, "An elephant is hard and pointy." The third touched its tail and said, "An elephant is long and thin, like a snake." The men's perspective was hindered by their lack of distance. They had not taken the opportunity to examine the entire elephant. I like this story because it illustrates how perspective works both literally and metaphorically. Distance is a communicative space where a relationship has room to develop naturally rather than artificially. Arnett, Fritz, and Bell define it in terms of an ethical responsibility, where distance is a requirement of a working relationship. For instance, doctors have a responsibility to incorporate distance into their relationship with patients to support effective patient care. Too close of a relationship can muddy the emotional waters and prevent the doctor from being objective. Arnett, Fritz, and Bell note that not all communication episodes and contexts are the same. This is particularly important in more formal relationships, such as the relationship between a therapist and a patient. These relationships are special in that extremely personal and intimate topics may be discussed, making distance even more important for both therapist and patient. For example, the American Psychological Association notes in its ethical guidelines that your psychologist shouldn't also be your friend, client, or by which they mean business client, or sex partner. This guideline puts forth specific distance that clarifies the roles of the therapist-patient relationship and the ethical responsibility of the therapist. Again, for the therapist, it's important that she not become too emotionally involved with her patient because she will lose her perspective and her professional judgment may be clouded, potentially harming her client. For the client, a therapist, for a client or patient, a therapist that does not provide enough distance may result in feelings of discomfort or confusion. This scene from the TV show The Sopranos illustrates the concept of distance within the therapeutic relationship. Dr. Jennifer Melfi, a psychiatrist who is treating the mafia boss, Tony Soprano, is recovering from being raped, as well as the fact that her attacker won't face charges because of a technicality. After a symbolic dream, Dr. Melfi realizes she could have Tony kill her rapist if she wanted. In this scene, which takes place not long after she has the dream, Tony comes in for his usual psychotherapy session.
Well, you're not using the cane anymore. It's been making my list. Even a little notebook.
Good, that's good.
And I've been thinking about your behavior therapy idea. Maybe you got a point. You know, I could use some help with a few things, and if they can help me there, you know, I should go there.
No.
You sure about that? Because the last couple of times I've been getting a distinct feeling that you're giving me the boot. What's the matter? Hey, come on. What are you doing? Come on, huh? Hey. Come on. What are you You want to say something?
No.
Dr. Malfi's emotional breakdown affects the distance in their therapeutic relationship, as does Tony's attempts to comfort her by coming over to her chair and touching her. But ultimately, she takes responsibility for their therapeutic relationship. When Dr. Malfi recovers from her outburst, interestingly, she literally reinstates the distance between them by telling Tony to return his chair. She reestablishes ethical boundaries by emphatically stating she has nothing to tell him. Aside from her rape being a personal issue, she knows that if she told him about it, Tony would probably kill the perpetrator, another ethical boundary, not to mention a legal one. This article by Walker, Arnold, Miller, and Webb about the relationship between physicians and patients explores themes particular to it. They include tension. In the example from The Sopranos, it is Dr. Malfi's own personal issue that causes the tension. Control. She very definitely moves to have her professional role take precedence by gathering herself together and indicating that she does not wish to speak about what is bothering her. Dr. Malfi's control over the role of therapist could be viewed as a technique to reestablish professional clinical distance. Her giving directions and focusing the attention back on Tony also reestablishes her as the authority in the relationship. The article also notes that patients are usually okay with the unequal power relationship and acknowledge the role of the physician as expert and authority. Tony acknowledges Dr. Malfi's role when he obeys her order to go back to his chair. When he asks if there's anything she wants to ask him, it is implied by the final seconds of the scene that he accepts Dr. Malfi's wishes. He obeys her authority and therefore accepts the required distance between them. I hope that this has been a valuable exploration and explanation of distance within the specific context of physician or therapist and the patient.